To the Final Fantasy fans on set, as someone who knows very little about the series but plans to play the Magic Final Fantasy set, what games would you recommend prioritizing? I'll be playing some, watching playthroughs of others, and getting through as many as I can before June. Any info you could provide in the series as a whole would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I asked about this because it's gonna be a big set, and I like to know the jokes if I can. Oh boy, we've got a range of answers from chat already. Basically ranging from 1 to 13.
So oh no, there's a Final Fantasy Magic crossover. Yeah, there's a set. There's a full draftable. It will be in standard set. Let's not get into it here. Coming out in June, and it's a Universes Beyond set. So it's Final Fantasy, but it's Magic cards with Final Fantasy characters and spells and things like that. And that sounds cool. There was a recommendation in chat of just play 14 because it already has all the references to the other games, which is not an unfair suggestion. 14 is the MMO.
Yeah.
So
As
you
someone
have to.
who has only played the MMO and no other Final Fantasies, it's still approachable.
But
Yeah.
it is like saying you should, if you just want to understand Star Wars, watch the Family Guy. They're half hour each, and they've got all the references.
There is a License to Kill statue 3D print
Beautiful.
It already exists.
model that exists.
Send those to all of us, please.
I know it's the second MMO, but it's the only the 11 is not presently supported, is it? Is
I
it?
don't know if it's still running or if it's been taken offline. I actually don't know. I think it might still be up, and you might still be able
It
to.
is? Wow. All right. Well, good for them. So Izande points out, as I feel is correct, is that Final Fantasy VII will probably have a lot of representation because it was a particular milestone in North America, because it was the first like 3D one, the first one on the PlayStation. It had a huge marketing push behind it. Like I remember seeing ads for it on TV. And One Soldier of Fortune. That's not the game, but that's what the commercials said. Anyway, so I imagine 7 will have an outsized representation, which is just fine by me because I love that one. But that's not why I recommend it specifically. Cat hair, pardon me. 6 is really good, 10's really good, 12's really good.
9's really good.
9 is really good.
Gunblades.
Other games are also fun.
Yeah. So I have a big
6,
answer.
7, 9, 10 are the prevailing numerals.
Yes.
And 12.
And I also think 12.
6,
I think 12 is
7, 9, 10, and 12 is where to start.
Well,
Should
no, I didn't
actually
say
be 1, 2,
where to
3,
start.
4,
I'm just
5,
like
6, 7,
6,
8,
7,
then
9.
9, then 10, then
So-
11, 12, 13.
1 is very basic, right? 1 is your characters are like fighter, mage, right? Like it is a
Invented a genre.
yeah, it's a fantasy role playing game, and it's your characters are the classes, and it's nothing like in retrospect it is not groundbreaking, right? 2 and 3 are similar, but getting more involved and complicated, sort of plot wise.
Question in chat that said, I just logged in. Are we talking about our favorite numbers?
Basically,
Love numbers. Love numbers.
Sorry, Grim.
No, it's fine. 4 is great. 4 starts doing a lot of stuff with like characters and stuff like that. 4 was like a big, I would say, shift in the series. And like 4 and 5 are very good. I think of that era of games, it's sort of undeniable that 6 is like the marquee standout of the NES, SNES era of the 2D the 2D Final Fantasy games. Now I say 2D, you can get remasters of all of these now. I don't know how involved the
some
remasters
of them are
of the
3D and some of them aren't.
yes.
There are some 3Ds that have come out over the past few years. I just bought a lot of these, hence why I know this. And then over the last couple of years, they've released what are called the pixel remasters of 1 through 6 that are a bit more true to form to the game. They are just they're remastered with graphics, but it's not trying to do 3D. It's not a new story. And the music is a little bit upscaled, I believe. They have like an orchestral version instead of the classic, but you can flip it to the classic. And the best thing is there are sliders, so you can adjust your experience gain, gold level, and other things.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
if you're trying to catch up on Final Fantasy games that you either didn't play or haven't played a long time ago, or since a long time ago, it's real nice to get through some of the early ones.
Yeah.
Can I take a crack at this question?
Please.
So, in an effort specifically to be helpful, because can you reread the question specifically?
All right, to the Final Fantasy fans on set, as someone who knows very little about the series but plans to play the Magic set, what games would you recommend prioritizing?
Okay.
I'll be playing some, watching playthroughs of others, getting through as many as I can before June.
Okay, so my answer to that question is going to depend on your tolerance for how dated a game is. If you struggle to go back and play retro games, we had the conversation about like things that were incredibly genre-defining when they came out, but that age in a way that you go back and they're not as impressive because it's like, okay, I can see how this influenced everything, but it's not really doing much that's new.
Welcome, Raiders. Thanks, Dan Reichert. What's up? We were tangentially talking about you earlier because I was interviewing Dan Olson and we were talking about Taco Bell wedding. And chat was immediately like, "Oh, Dan Reichert." So, welcome.
So to that end, over the pandemic, like 2020, I played basically every major, like, notable Final Fantasy game, except for the really early ones.
For context, we're presently talking about Final Fantasy games because there's a Final Fantasy Magic set coming out, and someone who does play Magic and doesn't play Final Fantasy is like, what should I know about? So,
Yeah, so I played 6, I played 7, I played 8, I played 9, I played 10, I played 10-2, I played 12, I played 13, 13-2, 13-3, I played 14 quite a bit, I played a tiny bit of 15 and then gave up because it was dreadful to watch, and then I played 16. And then I played both Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth over the course of that 1 year. Or, well, up till now.
yeah.
And so the answer to that question is, if your tolerance for really dated games is low, if you can do a PlayStation 2 game, start with 10. If you find that too old, you're kind of tough. My answer then is, like, if you find a PlayStation 2 game too old to get into, honestly, your best bet is probably Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Maybe Remake, 7 Remake. It's difficult to talk around this specific question because the Final Fantasy VII remakes are directly in conversation with Final Fantasy VII. And so if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII, you're gonna miss, or at least if you're not familiar with a lot of Final Fantasy VII, there's a fair bit of the game that's just not gonna make sense without that context because it's doing things in its storyline that are directly like meta commentary on how Final Fantasy VII happened. The problem with just saying go play Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VII is an amazing game and I recommend it to everybody. I tell everybody who's like, I'm Final Fantasy VII curious because of the remakes. Which one should I play first? I'm like, go play the original first. You'll get more out of the remakes. But Final Fantasy VII is really, really dated. And I know a lot of people who go to play it just bounce right off it. If you can handle a PlayStation game, frankly, go to 9. 9 is a single entry, it has no derivatives, it's entirely self-contained, you can play through it, it's good, it hits all of the Final Fantasy, like the Final Fantasy franchise hallmarks, it'll last you 70 hours, you'll be happy. If you want to dive in deeper, look to 7, if you can't handle stuff that old, look to 12, or probably just start with 7 Rebirth if you just want to play an action game. otherwise, there's so much baggage associated with every Final Fantasy game that your options are play all of them, or you really have to tailor the answer to the specific tastes of the individual that you're talking to.
Welcome, Raiders.
Is it fair to say if you don't think you can play 7 like the original, you do watch throughs of 7?
Oh yeah,
And then play either the remakes or play 10.
yeah. Like 10 is the easiest one to the most accessible retro Final Fantasy game to just drop in and play.
I really appreciate everyone shouting out my playthrough of Final Fantasy VII. Thank you.
There you go.
Appreciate that. You can find that on youtube.com/loadingreadylive.
You're here, there's a good chance you like seeing Graham.
Look for when I explain what a Tonberry is. I also played through 12 more recently. The advantage to replaying 12 now is that you can get it on Steam, and it's the Final Fantasy 12 Zodiac. The Zodiac
And it has a fast forward.
which has they've redone the job system in a way that is actually good, and they have 2 times and 4 times and 8 times. They have fast forwards, which is also handy for the running around and the fighting. So highly recommend the 12 on Steam, because it's just the quality of life is much better.
The fast forward is available in, I think, the Switch version as well, which was, I think, what I played. Because the final, ultra optional mega boss in that game takes 8 real world hours
Of 12?
to beat.
Yeah, I did not do that.
I did, but I did it at 8 times speed.
So it only took 2 hours? 1 hour? 2 hours?
It took about an hour 40, but you can leave the fight and come back partway through it.
Oh.
So as long as you don't, as long as you're not gone for a certain amount of time or save and quit or anything like that, you can go to town and stock up on potions and then go back into the fight and continue. But yeah. I just want to point out to Jibcat in chat, who said, if only Matt did a VOD of his playthroughs, which I also did. But it was funny that Jibcat said that, because Jibcat notoriously is Matt, you should play this, and then somebody on my Discord will link Jibcat the VOD of me having already played it. But yeah, I put all of my playthroughs up on YouTube as well, under YouTube Wiggins TV.
Nice.
Wiggins_TV.
I hope that answered your question, or was remotely helpful to you also.
That was helpful to me.
Good. Yeah.